How did I spend less than $600, flight included, on my 6-day solo trip to Taiwan? In this video, I'll break down how I book, plan, prepare and budget for my trip so that you can replicate this for your next adventure. I already have plans to go on a solo trip since before COVID. I didn't know where I want to go, but I do know it's something that I want to experience once in a lifetime. Back in August 2023, I happened to chance upon this return trip to Taiwan for only $210. So on that very day, I just YOLO'd and booked the flight. That was how it all started. But of course, this might not be for everyone. So let me show you how I would do it given another situation. There are two ways to go about this. The first one is when you don't know where you want to go, and the second one is when you know where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, a great way to start is to have a gauge of the dates that you want to travel. Give yourself a decent buffer, so maybe a 2 weeks window where you know you can travel. However, if you know you already have a destination in mind, then you should be flexible with your dates if you want to travel at a cheaper price. With that said, now let's head over to Google Flights. If you know where you want to go, you can just enter your destination here. So for example, if I want to go to Japan, I'll just type in Japan here and then I will click on the explore button. However, if you don't have a destination in mind, you can just set the date where you are available to fly. So in this example, I will enter 18th to 30th August. This is a 2-week range. I will just then click on explore. After you have clicked on explore, Google Flight will show you this map with the price and destination you can fly to. You can then use this as reference to decide where you want to go. If you want, you can always zoom out and zoom in to explore different destinations. So maybe in this case, the price to Bangkok looks interesting to me. So I'll click on it, and on the left, I can scroll down and click on view flights. Over on this page, you can just click on the date grid and look at the price for different departure and return dates. To use this table, you just have to mouse over the price and you can see that your departure date is on top and your return date is on the right. If let's just say I want to go on a 5-day trip, I can use this to quickly identify which dates are the best for me to fly. So in this case, if I fly on 15th August and return on the 20th of August, it will only cost me $138. So if I like this price, I can just click on it and click on OK to confirm. It will then show me which flight I should take to get this price. If you want more information, you can take a look at my Before You Board series. Now with that out of the way, I will show you how I plan, budget and prepare for my Taiwan trip. So for this trip, I already have plans to keep my costs down, but at the same time, I don't want to compromise on my experience. I start by searching what can I do in Taiwan. Places to go, places to see and places to eat. I then write all of this down in the spreadsheet and then group them by their location. Of course, I won't be able to go everywhere, so I have to prioritize where I want to go. At the same time, I also want to avoid places that offer similar experience so that I can experience much more. At this point of time, I just want to add a disclaimer. Although most solo trip is about experiencing and living with the locals, as an introvert, that is not something I can see myself doing. I'm someone that prefers to plan ahead, so I don't go there and waste time trying to do something. Of course, this differs from people to people, so just go ahead and do it the way you prefer. I'm just here to share how I would do it. To help me decide where I want to go, I take a look at my flight timing. I can see that I will arrive on the 22nd of August at 5:45 AM. This is very early, and based on my experience, most check-in only happen in the afternoon. This means that I have at least 6 hours to spend before I can check into my lodging. This is something I will take note of. For my return flight, it's a night flight, which is good. But at the same time, I need to take note that from the time to check out to my flight back, I will have to carry all my things with me. Now with that information, what do you think would be the best way to spend that 6 hours while carrying your bag or luggage? Traveling to another city, and perhaps somewhere further. So that was how I added Hualien to my itinerary. In Hualien, the must visit place is Taroko Gorge. So I decided to stay one night in Hualien so I can visit this place the next morning. With that, my itinerary for the first 2 days is kinda decided. So this is my planned itinerary for day 1. I'll reach the airport at about 5:45 AM and finish clearing immigration at 7. I will then head over to check the Taiwan Lucky Land Draw and then travel to Taipei to have my breakfast. Afterwards, I will take the fast local train to Hualien, walk to my Airbnb area to have lunch before checking in and have dinner at the night market. Although that was the suggested itinerary for day 1, eventually I decided to take the bus to my Airbnb because it was too hot and I was too tired to walk the 30-minute route. So for lodging in Hualien, since I'm only staying there for one night, I just looked for the cheapest apartment I could find. For my apartment in Hualien, it cost me $26.67 for one night. and this is how the place looked like. It's actually pretty decent and I enjoy my time there. On day 2 for Toroko Gorge, I decided to go with a tour group as based on my research, I realized that if I were to go there on public transport, I would have to spend a lot of time waiting for buses and whatnot. Being on the tour group also means that I can bring my whole bag or luggage with me without having to carry them around when I'm exploring, as I'm allowed to put the bag in the bus. This tour take about 1 full day and I know afterwards I will be too tired to do anything. I also know that I don't want to spend my next day morning traveling to another city. That is why eventually I decided to spend my evening traveling to another city to save time the next morning. While traveling, I'm also able to rest on the train. Out of all the places I have researched, Jiufen and Ruifeng interest me, and that is somewhere where I want to go. That is why I decided to add them to my itinerary, and after Toroko Gorge, I will travel to Ruifeng to stay there for a night. Some of the places that I wanted to visit in Ruifeng and Jiufen includes the Nanyang Rock Formation, Jiufen Old Shopping Street, Ruifeng Waterfall, Shengping Theatre, and some of the tea houses there. Since I know there's a lot of places I wanted to visit in Ruifeng and Jiufen, decided to separate them into 2 different days to be able to cover all grounds. This was my itinerary for day 3 and day 4. So on day 3, I will visit the Nanyang Rock Formation and then take the bus to Jiufen Old Shopping Street to shop and explore the area there. I will then be eating around there and experiencing the tea house before I head back to my Airbnb. For day 4, I will then travel to Shifeng Waterfall and walk to Pingxi for lunch before traveling back to Taipei. So for Ruifeng, I managed to find a place near the train station. It's a hostel, that means I will be sharing with other people, but I only paid $46.83 for this place and I think it's pretty worth it. Now since that my itinerary already covered Hualien, Jiufeng and Ruifeng, I decided to spend the rest of my trip in Taipei. In Taipei, I have 2 full days left to explore, so I try to visit at least 3 locations in one day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one at night. When planning, I also try to ensure that the route covering all these places makes sense. I don't want to spend time traveling to A, then to C, then come back to B. This will be a waste of time on travel. So with that in mind, on the day when I travel back to Taipei from Ruifeng, I'll be visiting Raohe Night Market for my dinner. On the next day, I'll visit the Memorial Hall, have my lunch, then head over to Elephant Mountain before visiting Shiling Night Market to have my dinner. On the last day of my trip, I decided to spend more time in Ximenting district to visit and explore the area before heading back to the airport to check in. I did have plans to visit Elephant Mountain on the last day in the morning, but I realized that I have to bring my bag or luggage with me and that will be a burden for the trip. That is why I decided to put Elephant Mountain in the afternoon on day 5 and head over to Ximenting district on the last day instead. On the last day, I only put in Ximenting district since I will be carrying my stuff with me after I check out from my Airbnb. I don't want to visit too many places or feel rushed when heading back to the airport. That's why there's only one place over here, but I allocated more time in Ximenting district so that I'm able to explore their shopping street. With the places I want to visit for day 5 and 6, I try to look for accommodation near these places so that I can save time on my travel. I managed to find a 1-bedder shared place in Nankang district, Taipei for a good price, but unfortunately during my trip I have to cancel it as the host wasn't responsive. I managed to find a replacement lodging at a slightly higher price, but at that point of time the most important thing was getting a roof over my head when I'm in Taipei. During this trip, I didn't exactly follow my itinerary 100% of the time, but I used my itinerary as a guide to tell me what I need to do on that day. Eventually, this is how my itinerary looked like. On day 1, after reaching Taipei, I traveled to Hualien and had dinner at Dongdamen Night Market. For day 2, I head over to Toroko Gorge and then travel to Ruifeng. On day 3, you will realize that I didn't head over to Nanyang Rock Formation. Instead, I traveled to Shifeng Waterfall and then proceed with my plan for day 3. This was because during my trip to Taiwan, I had to complete my coding assessment for my internship. That is why I have to plan a trip to the internet cafe to complete this assessment. For the rest of the itinerary, it still stays the same, so there isn't much changes to it. Looking at my itinerary, you'll notice there's a column called cost where I put in the budget and the cost for each activity. This is because I want to keep this trip under $600. For this trip, I didn't purchase any travel insurance and instead rely on the travel insurance that comes with my credit card. This is the final breakdown of how much I spent while I was in Taiwan. Changed about $151 to Taiwan dollars. I spent about $7 on the SIM card and $210 for this flight. For my accommodation, I spent roughly about $140. The tour to Toroko Gorge cost me about $47 and eventually Eventually, this all adds up to about $567.76. On this trip, I spent mostly using cash as a way to budget myself, but I also bring my trust card just in case I need to use it if I ran out of budget. This was a trip where I stepped out of my comfort zone. It was a great experience, but I don't think it's something that I will do again, as I prefer to share my experience with someone else. All the things that I buy and the places that I stay will be in the description box below. Here is a short video summarizing my whole trip. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Currently I'm in Taiwan waiting for the train. Currently I'm at Crystal Waterfall. Wow, street market.